Build your own powerful project management tool with Python and KivyMD. Thread tasks, assign users, set deadlines, and manage everything in one place. Add comments, attach files, and keep your team in sync all from scratch. In this video, we're creating a clean splash screen and a functional login screen to kick things off. And the best part, you can take what we build and make it your own. Don't miss the next steps. Like and subscribe to stay updated with the full series. Let's get started.
Okay, so after you finish downloading XAMPP, right, and you run the installer package, this is gonna pop up, right? So you're just gonna press next. Gonna leave this like this. Just press next, right? So you're gonna install this inside your C folder or any other drive you're gonna install it into, right? So you just have to memorize where this is at, right? And you're just gonna say next, and you're gonna press a lot of next after this, right? So that it's just gonna install and everything. So I already have this installed, so I'm not gonna run this. So I'm gonna cancel. Okay. Okay, so after your XAMPP is done installing, right, you need to navigate to where the folder is installed, right? So mine is inside my D drive, right? So if you installed it inside C drive, you're just gonna navigate to that drive. Then you're gonna select the XAMPP folder. Then at the bottom, you're gonna look for this XAMPP control here, and you're gonna run it as an administrator, right? Okay, let me minimize this. So this is going to pop up, right? And you need to start this and this, the Apache and MySQL ones. Okay, so after running these two, running Apache and MySQL, right, you can close this XAMPP control panel. So now we're not gonna need it now, right? Since we've run this as an administrator, right? So every time your PC loads up, XAMPP is just gonna run in the background, right? So what we need to do is open our browser. So now that we are done installing XAMPP, we need to open a browser, right? So here I'm on Chrome. So what I'm gonna do in the search box, I'm just gonna type localhost like this, press enter, open PHP myadmin. Okay, so now we have XAMPP open, right? So on the left here, you just have to say click new, right? And we call our database project management here, right? So let's just create. Okay, so we're not gonna do anything here because we're gonna add the tables from our text editor. So let's leave it like this and let's proceed with text editor. Okay, so now that you've downloaded the starter template for this project management system, right, what we need to do is you need to open a terminal, and inside this terminal you're gonna say pip install -r requirements.txt, right? So this requirements.txt is this file here inside our starter template. So just all the things that we're gonna use. We're gonna need anything else, we're just gonna be installing them one by one. This is basically what we need. So let's close this, and inside our terminal we just press enter, right? Let me just check something. I think my network is off. Let me switch on. Okay, now it's running. So while this installs, right, for most of the stuff in here I already have it installed. So I'm just gonna go through the template. So the template is structured like this, right? The first folder is the app folder. So inside the app folder, we're gonna see and need.python. So this is basically the daddy of the whole project. So everything we're going to be using is going to be coded here. So this is the dimensions of our screens, the home screen that we have at first. So, and these are started custom widgets that we're gonna be using. So project here, right? So here we have our screen manager, right? So this is going to be like the main screen manager. One I'm going to be using to switch between screens: the home screen, the login screen, the education screen, and splash screens, etc. Right? And these are the the fonts that we're gonna be using. So we're gonna be using mostly like KivyMD fonts, right? But then we're gonna have some Kivy with custom widgets like text fields. So these are going to be using some of these fonts, right? So let me minimize this. Then we're gonna have assets. So inside the assets, right, we're gonna have our fonts and our images. Then we're gonna have data right here. So this is gonna hold our connection. So it's like we're gonna be using mysql.connect. So the whole logic is in here. So we're just gonna be calling this function here, this connection function from our screens. Then we're gonna have views. So this is where we're gonna have all our views, all our screens: the home screen, login screen, education screen, project screen, dashboard. And underneath this home screen, we have this create screen.py. So this is the code that we're going to be using to create our screens, right? So that we don't have to do everything one by one manually. Then underneath our views directory, we have widgets. So this is where we're going to be storing all our custom widgets. Then here we have our create.py. So this is going to create our tables, right? So remember, we created that project management database inside XAMPP. So I'm using this create.py file to add tables. And we have populate.py. I'm gonna be using this to add demi data, right? And let me give this and this. Then we already saw requirements.txt, right? Then we have session.json. So this one is gonna act like our tokens, right? Our user login token. Then we have z.text, right? So this is gonna so this is just containing the text that we're gonna add to our splice. So it's not really important. Then lastly, we have main.py. So we're gonna be using this to run our system. So whenever we wanna run our system, it's gonna run main.py. So let's say we run it, we should get a white screen. This right. So let's get started. And since we're done creating our database, right? So let's open a file with .py. Then inside this db variable here is expressed our database name, right? So Control S. So let's run this. So in our terminal, you're gonna see that our table is created successfully, right? So close this create.py file, then open populate.py. So inside our database here, I'm just gonna press the database name, then run this file again. Okay, in our terminal, you can see universal dummy data inserted successful, right? So now let's get rid of populate.py like this. Then so now we have we've added tables to our database and added some dummy data inside there, right? So inside your terminal, right, we're gonna say okay, let me just get this. We're not terminal again. So inside here, we're just gonna say cd views, right? Then once we said inside our views folder, right, what I'm gonna say is we're gonna say Python, then create underscore screen.py, then let's call our first screen splash for the splash screen, right? So I'm just gonna press up, then here I'm gonna say login, right? So this create screen.py, right? It's inside our views folder, right? So here it is, right? So we created this login screen and this splash screen. So what we need to do now is navigate to our app folder, then open init.py. Then up here, I'm just gonna Control C, then Control V this. First one is going to be splash, and this needs to be splash. And this one is going to be login, and here let's put login. This, and let's scroll downwards. Right. So here we have the screen manager, right here. Right. So what this is going to be doing, right? So this is going to be like main screen manager. This one going to be taking the system user from the splash screen to the authentication screen. So the authentication screen is going to be able to register users, right? And login users. Then we're going to have a login screen. So the login screen is going to be responsible for allowing staff members to access the system, right? Then you're going to have a home screen. So the home screen is going to contain the rest of the project management system, right? So whether it's projects, tasks, staff, and whatever we're gonna put inside our project management system, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy this and paste it could be 3 more times, right? So this one here is going to be splash, and this needs to be splash screen, and this one is going to be login, and this is going to be login screen. So we're gonna be using these names here to switch the screens, right? And this one needs to be auth. So this one is going to be responsible for signing in and registering users, right? And this is going to be auth screen. But for now, we're just gonna comment this out, right? We're gonna create this screen in the next video, right? So for now, we're just gonna create the splash screen and the login screen. So now that we have these two, right? Let's navigate to our views folder and open splash screen, right? Then open splash.kv. So the first thing we need to do is let's make this a float layout. Like this, then let's get rid of this orientation. Yeah. Then let's give this. Let's make this. We're not gonna need padding instead of. But let me just get rid of this. We're not gonna need spacing through. So let's just add the background color. So here I'm gonna say canvas dot before. Then here we're gonna say color, then RGBA, and to be RGBA. So here we're just gonna put F7, F7, F7. So it's just going to be like very light gray color, right? Here hashtag F7, F7, F7. This. Then here we're just gonna say Tango. Then pause is going to be self.pause. Then size is going to be self.size. Yes, right. So if you run this, it's just going to be like a very light color, right? So what we need to do inside of float layout, we need to get a box like this. Then inside this box layout, we're gonna give this box layout a size it. Which you're gonna set to none, none. Then you're gonna give this box layout some size, right? So our width, we're gonna set it to let's try 800 display pixels. Then our height, let's do 600. This, and let's give it some padding of 1 display pixel, because I'm thinking of putting a darker gray color in the background, right? Then we're just gonna put the white box layout inside this box layout, so that it's gonna act like it has a shadow, right? So it's just gonna create, like, let's say just gonna make the white box layout inside of it pop out a little. Oh, right. So once we add the padding here, right, let's copy this one. And now let's paste it here. Keep this inside one time. And change this to let's try E9, E9, E9. And if it doesn't pop out a lot more, by 8C. That's not dark. We need to give this position X. So here when I say pause int curly braces, and inside here let's say center X like this. Then when I set this to 0.5, right, so it's going to be at the center horizontally. So now let's do the same for the y-axis. So here when I say center y, I set this to 0.5 or so. So this is going to put it at the center horizontal vertically. So now what we need to do is let me just copy it, paste it underneath here, and tap the whole thing inside of it once. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna change this color to white. So we're gonna put 6 Fs like this. We're gonna get rid of this size like this. Then the padding, let's set it to 40 display pixel. Yes. Then duplicate this, change the bottom one to facing like this. Let's see. Let me create something easier. I'm not gonna need this one. This position ends. Then here let's give it some orientation. And we're gonna set this to electrical. This. Okay. So let's just run this and see how this looks so far. So it's not popping out more I want it to. But let's minimize this. Let me try 8E8A8C. This is extreme. This is too. And I'll try maximizing it. Okay. Is at the center? It's looking alright. Okay. Minimize it. So let's just Control Z and let's lower this to F5. Okay. This is much better. So let's maintain F5. Minimize this. So inside this box layout, right? We need to add 2 box layouts. So what this is going to do is just going to separate, like when I have text on the left and I have an image. So I do here. Let me leave this here. I'm just gonna copy this, scroll downwards, and paste it somewhere here. Right. So when I make this a rounded rectangle, then give this some radius of let's try 8,8,8. This. So inside here, right? Let's put another box here. Okay. I'm gonna copy this, then paste it here like this. And let's leave the radius. So here I'm just gonna say source, right? So I'm gonna put an image here. So let's navigate to our assets folder, then images. Let's look at login background. This thing loading or what? Okay, so this is the image you're gonna put here, right? So let's go. Here we're gonna say assets images and login underscore, just say login bg, but I don't know why it's saying t. Let's just use pc dot, so it's png or jpg like this, right? So the first box layout, this one, right, we need to make the right side straight, right, so that it intersects with the first box layout we did, right? So this one needs to be 0, this one can remain 8, and this one needs to be 0 like this. So I'm gonna copy this and we can paste it. Okay, here's the first one. So this one needs to be 8, this one needs to be 0, and this one is 8. This, then we need to add same here. Then we just make sure that everything is 8 here. So let me just select everything here and 8. So let's run it again. Invalid class name, box layout canvas, all 980. Okay, so we need to tap this inside this. So let's run it again. Okay, so here we have our image on the right. So on the left here, let's try putting a logo and some text and a copyright line at the bottom. Right? So let's minimize this. So right here, so here the first box layout, right? Let's give it a size in y of none and a height of 60 display pixels like this, right? Then inside this box layout, let's put another box layout like this, and when I say size int underscore x going to be none and the width going to be self-put height like this. Then inside here we're gonna put an MD label like this, and let's give it some text. So so this is gonna act as a, what do you call it, the logo, right? So we don't have an app name, so let's just call it Project X, right? Project X. So here let's just put P, an uppercase P and a lowercase x. This. Then let's align this to the center. Let's give this some font styling. This should be font style. And we're gonna set this to title like this, and the row, let's set it to large. This. Then let's say bold, true. So this makes the text bold, right? Then what do we need? Let's give this some color. So let's make this let's make it so hashtag and 6 Fs. This let's copy this and and paste it here. Right. So let's change this background color, right? If we navigate to our widgets folder, right? So this is where we keeping all our custom widgets, right? So if you navigate to buttons, right? Let's scroll down, custom button. Let's copy this color. Navigate back to splash.kv and let's paste it here. This. Then let's put a box layout underneath here so that it pushes everything upwards. Right. So what we can do here, we can just change this to an anchor layout. Like this. Then we're gonna say anchor underscore x, and when I set this to right so that it pushes everything right. So here we're gonna have this box layout with label, right? So we're just gonna take this box layout in, right? Let's push it to the left so that we make sure that it stays on the left with this. So let's run this and see how this looks. Okay. Minimize this. So let's make sure everything is using a radius of 8. Let's run this again. Okay, not bad. So let's minimize this. We set the orientation here to 30. Oh, this box layout, we need to tab it up one more time. So shift tab it once. Run it again. Okay, it's fine. Let's now some labels here. So underneath our makeshift logo, right? Let's put an MD layer. Let's put it here. So here when I say ND label, so let me just copy everything here. Let's leave the color number. Then I'll paste it here. Table twice. This, right? Let's change the port need this. Then the text here, what can we do? All right, so I have some text here that I had ChatGPT generate from it, so I'm just gonna fetch it up. So I'm just gonna copy this whole thing. Then let me get rid of this. So inside our main directory, I'm just gonna create a file. I'm just gonna call it z.txt, right? So that it sits at the bottom of the directory, right? So inside here, let me just put quotes. Then paste this. Oh, and I just closed the tab. But anyways, let's freestyle, right? So here, let's just say welcome to, let's call it Lodge X, right? What can you say here? Let's just say your project management. Let's just say your project manager. Yes. Then let's copy this. Paste something underneath. Right. Then right here we need to get rid of this bold. Then the text, the font style here needs to be a label. And the row here, let's maintain medium. Let's just maintain. Then now we need to give this some color. Let's put AD8A8C. Like this. Then let's copy this and paste it here. We need to give this one some size. So here we need to say size in Y. And I set it to none. And height. And I set it to let's say 30. So this. So inside here, let's put some text. So here let's say initializing dot like this. And let's copy this. Then here let's set this one to small. So this is gonna be smaller text. Excuse me. Now here that you can put whatever you wanna put. So here I'm just gonna say only technologies all rights reserved, like this. Okay. Let's get rid of this, or we can just put it here and put it here and here. We might also need to put it here, but let's put it from let's put it right. So let's run it and see how this works. Okay. We're definitely gonna need the text charging. So I'm gonna fetch it. So let's make sure all these text is aligned to the left. So let's minimize this. H align, yes, and get rid of it. Okay, run it. Okay, this is looking a little bit better. So now let's fetch the text here. Right. Okay. So here we have the text, right? I'm just gonna hold shift and select this. So see here, I'm gonna paste it in here. Excuse me. So let's go back to z.text. So it's qbz.text. So let's copy this here. Splash.kv. So let's paste it here. Like this. Right. So let's run it. I hope this looks a lot better. Okay. Minimize it. So let's give this a size int y. Like here when I say size int underscore y, and it's set to none, and our height when I set it to 60 display pixels. So let's run this. Okay. Let's get rid of the box layout we have between the logo and this text, right? So let's get rid of this and run it. Okay, so our splash screen is looking great. So now let's just put the Python function that switches screens. Right? Let's minimize this. So let's open, let's close this, minimize this, minimize this also. Need splash to I, right? So right here underneath this on enter function, we need to create a function and you're just gonna call it switch underscore screens like this, and it's gonna take in self and let's just put td time there, right? Or you can just say star alt like this. Then inside here, let's just put a try block, right? So here, let's say session, right? So session is going to be, if you check in our directory, right, we have this session.json. So we're just gonna put it here, session.json. This. Then here we need to open the session.json file. So here we're gonna say with open, and we're gonna open session. We need to call this session file, right? Session underscore file like this, right? So here inside the quotes, we need to put an R so that we can be able to read it. Okay, then you're gonna say as file like this. Here let's create a variable, right? We're just gonna call it a session, and it's going to be json.read. It should be json.load. So what are we loading? We're gonna load the file here, right? So now we need to say user underscore ID is equal to session get. So what are we getting? We need to get our user ID. This, right? So right here, right? Let's open session.json. Right, so here we have user ID, staff ID, and the user, right? We might need the row of the user, but excuse me, I'm gonna do that a little bit further. So let's go back to splash.py. So here let's just put an accept here. So you're gonna say accept file not found error, and here we're just gonna return none. This, excuse me, right? So for storing our user IDs, right? So whenever we are logged out, just gonna set the user ID to 0, right? But if we have a user ID, so if we have like a user logged in, right, just gonna store the user logged in user's ID. So that's 1, 10, 17, 27, something like that, right? So to see if we need to show the auth screen or the login screen, like, so the auth screen has register and login, but this one is for the main users, right? But the login screen that we're gonna create here is for the staff, right, so that they can access the system. So what we're trying to do here with the splash screen is we're gonna determine if the user is logged in. So if it's logged in, it's gonna send us to the login screen where the staff can access the system. But if we are not logged in, it's gonna send us to the auth screen, right? So to do that here, we're gonna use an if statement, because we're gonna fetch the user ID from our session.json. So here we need to say if user ID is equals to, let's say, 0, right? Because whenever we log out, set the user ID 0 every time. if user ID is equal to 0, right? I'm gonna say md app dot get running app get underscore running underscore app, right? Parentheses. Next to parentheses, we're gonna say dot put dot ideas dot screen underscore manager current. Okay. We're gonna say if it's set to 0, we're gonna navigate to hot screen, right? Like this, right? So what this we need to import this mdf, import its name, import it from kivy.app, like this. So what this does, right? Just gonna get the running app, right? Then we're gonna get the screen manager. So we're gonna call this let's navigate to init.py, right? We're gonna call this screen manager from our splash screen here, right? Then we're gonna tell it that if the user ID is equal to 0, we need to call this hot screen here. So let me just uncomment it like this. Then navigate to our terminal, this app. So let's just create this hot screen, right? Hot screen created successfully, right? So let's scroll up. Let's import it here, hot, like this, and this needs to be hot, this, excuse me. So now let's go back to splash screen. So if it's set to 0, we're gonna call the hot screen. Then you need to say else. So if we have a user ID in there, right? Now we're gonna navigate to login screen. So the hot screen is gonna be able to register a user, the main user, and log in the main user on the same screen, right? So you don't have to stress about having many login screens inside our app, right? So with this, right, let's Control S. We need to make sure that this runs, right? So let's get rid of this return inside our interface and say clock dot schedule underscore once, right? So inside here we need to say self dot switch screens, right? Let's get rid of parentheses here. Let's put a comma and let's put 10 seconds. So let's import this clock here from kivy.clock. Okay. Okay, so let's test this out. Okay, so now we don't know if it took us to the login screen or the hot screen, right? So let's minimize this and let's open session.json, right? So okay, the user ID is set to 0 here, right? So it took us to the hot screen, right? So what we need to do is let's work on the login screen real quick. Let's just change this to 1, right? Control S. Then let's navigate to our views folder, then login screen. So for now we're gonna need login.kv. Let's just take login.py, right? And just have it up here, right? Let's get rid of this file here. Get rid of this image. Excuse me. We're gonna need this one. Are we going to need this one? Definitely gonna need it. Let's get rid of splash.py and init for now and main.py, right? So if you're not using Python, right? So if you have to manually run it from the main.py file, right? Just have it up here. It's still fine, right? So let's open splash.kv, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna Control A and Control C, right? Then inside login.kv, right? Excuse me. I'm gonna paste everything here, right? So at the bottom here, right? Okay, let's leave it like this. Fine. I was thinking of getting rid of this for the display pixel heading, right? And just have the image take up the rest of the space, right? So we don't need play spacing in here because it only has one thing inside of it. Right? So let's go back to splash.kv and get rid of the spacing in here. Okay. Right. So inside our login.kv, right? Let's start at the bottom. So we're gonna set this we're gonna align this to the center, right? Also we're gonna have some text field inside of it. So if you just like align it to the center, it's gonna look a lot better, right? So all of the text inside you're gonna align it to the center, same with the logo, right? So here when I say this should be edge align like this, and we need to get rid of this label here, or we can just change it to, excuse me, let's we're gonna need someone to display an error. Let's say the user enters a wrong password. So what we're gonna do is this, let's give it an ID. So we're just gonna call this error, yes. And let's reduce the height. Let's keep it at 30 display pixels. Let's get rid of the text here. So for testing purposes, we can just leave it at this, right? Then we need to change the color here to red, right? So we're just gonna say FF 1 2 3 4 like this. So it's going to be an intense red, right? Excuse me. Let's make this one small, right? So and when I align this to the center, this, let's see. We're not gonna need it here. And we're not gonna need this one too. This needs to be aligned to the center also. Let's see. So let's duplicate this, right? And this needs to be 30 display pixels. This. Let's leave the statement. Excuse me. Let's make this one for the display pixels. Let's leave this one at 60, and I'm gonna make this one 30 display pixels, right? And here we're just gonna say welcome, right? So let's put an exclamation mark here. And this one, let's just put project X, simple, powerful. Let's say your simple and powerful project management tool. Excuse me. And with this one, let's just run it and see how this goes. Okay, so let's go to splash. We need splash.py, I mean. And let's reduce this number to, let's just put 1 second, right? This should take us to login screen, right? Let's open session.js. we have one inside here. So let's look at our splash screen. It's getting the user ID and storing here. It takes us to the login screen. So let's open my init.py. Just check something. It's port and this is login, right? And here we have login. Oh, we forgot to get rid of this. Okay, so now let's run it again. Okay, now we need to move this logo to the center here. Then we're gonna put some input fields here. So this one to the center and some input fields here. I was actually pointing at the screen with my finger. But anyways, let's proceed. Right. What do we have? Our logo. So this one needs to be center. This. Let's run it. Okay. Minimize it. So underneath our welcome here, we'll put our text. Let's put another some other text here. So let's give this one some color. And this one is going to be hashtag 88A8C like this. And text here, I'm gonna say enter. Let's say please enter your detail. Please enter your credentials. Okay, that sounds a lot better. We can reduce the height to any display. So this, and this one needs to be label, and the raw needs to be small, and this doesn't need to be bold. It doesn't need like this. Okay, save it. Then underneath this MD label, right, we need to text field. So if you navigate to our navigate to our widgets folder, right? So we have text field.py, right? So this one has some custom text field. So for our system, right, we also have we should have is it in buttons? It should be in buttons. So we're gonna need a custom text field. So the first one here, the custom text field here, it takes in all characters, right? Then we have the custom text field int, takes in integers, custom text field float, taking floating point numbers. This one here takes in passwords, right? Numbers and passwords. Excuse me. Right. So this one also allows what you call it, show password and hide password, right? Then we have custom text field badge. This one allows you to take in notes, right? So there's a bigger text area, right? So we're gonna need a custom text field password. So it takes in an icon, label, and in text, right? So let's navigate back to what we have. We don't need this one, so let's close it. We don't need this one also. Okay. So underneath here, when I say custom text field password, this, and we're gonna give this an ID, and we're gonna give this an ID of password, right? And let's go back to our text field.py. So here there's a size in y, so we're not gonna set this because it's already set, right? Okay. So after ID, we need to give this an icon. which I can let's just put a lock, right? And let's make it outline. So lock outline of this. Then it has a label. It's in a label. So the label is going to be password, and I need an int text, right? Let's just say please enter your password like this, right? Then underneath that I need a button. So let's open buttons. Go downwards. So down here, right? Excuse me. We have this custom button. It takes in an icon and text, right? And also we have this custom drop-down list, right? So to make sure that the information that's displayed, right, belongs to the user. The stuff inside the project management system belongs to the user, right? We're just gonna be fetching the stuff inside our tables, right? That belongs to the user and displaying the object. So we're gonna be using this custom drop-down list because with spinners, right? I don't want to join the user ID and the name and send it to the spinner. Just want to send the name. Then whenever you select the name, custom drop-down list is gonna take the user ID and send it some where it's going to be stored. Then you're gonna use the user ID to make sure that that's the correct user name and the password and whatnot, so that we can log in the stuff, right? So we're gonna use this one. So before we add the custom button, let me just add this one first. So I'm gonna add it above our custom text field password. So we're gonna give this an ID, right? So we're gonna give it an ID. So since we're gonna be showing the staff member's name, right? Let's just call the ID name, right? Excuse me. Then it's gonna take in an icon. So the icon we're gonna send you, we're just gonna say count. So just like like those are blank person images. That's like what the icon looks like. But let's just make it outline so that it looks a lot better. Then it's gonna take in a label, and the label, let's just say name, and it's gonna take in some text. So the text here by default we're just gonna say select your name, right? Dot. Then it's gonna have a callback, right? So this is what's gonna happen whenever we select, right? We're just gonna say callback, right? And our callback is going to go for let's just call it add name underscore choice. This, so we're not gonna put parentheses here. So Control D, Control C this, navigate to login.py. So let's put this function inside, right? So it's gonna take in self and instance of our custom drop list, right? So we're gonna need the staff ID. So here we're just gonna say staff underscore ID is equal to let's just say instance dot ID, because it's going to receive an ID for our custom drop-down list, right? Excuse me. So we need to create this here on top of our on enter function. We're gonna paste this, and this one, let's just say it stores in string property, right? So let's import this from Kivy properties. Let's just make sure that whatever we are getting here, it's a string. So let's okay. like this. So let's navigate back to login.php. So underneath our custom field password, the custom text field password, we need to add a custom button. So let's navigate to our buttons.py file. So we scroll up, right? We have custom button and custom flat button. So custom button has an icon. So let's check custom flat button because it only takes in text. Control D, Control C, then paste it here. Right. So let's go back to buttons.py. I need to do something. So this doesn't have a size int y. Okay. Fine. So here let's give this a size int y of none and some height. And I set this to 40 display pixels like this. Then now we're gonna say text. So let's just say login. This. Then let's say on press. So this is what happens when we press the custom flat button, right? So we need to say root dot let's just call the function login. Control D, Control C. Let's open login.py. So let's create the function here. I'm gonna take in self. Oh, for now let's just say us, right? So let's navigate back to login.kv. Let's get rid of this box layout now. Yes. So let's run this and see how this looks. Okay. Let's minimize this. So we set this to into 40 display pixels. This to 30 display pixels. Let's get rid of this box layout here. So let's run this. Okay, we need to reduce the spacing. Minimize this. Let's set this to 10 display pixel. Okay, so this is much better. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna set an empty box layout and this error here and this community technology corrects itself. Then we're gonna do the same here in the logo and these projects use simple path custom. Okay, so let's minimize this. So here let's put a box layout. Then let's get rid of this let's get rid of everything and let's just leave the name here, right? Then we're gonna reduce this to 40 display pixels and let's create a box layout. Let's run this. Okay, it's looking a lot better. Right. So now let's just make sure we fetch the information right for the display. Yes, let's try something. Okay, so this works just fine. Get rid of the text here. Okay, this is looking good. So let's now work on our login. Right. But before we do that, just this here. Then let's put another box like here. Okay, so it's fine. I minimize this. Okay, so now let's open login.py, right? And then we can start working on logging in our stuff. So to fetch our staff members, right? We're gonna need a user ID, right? And to log in, we're gonna need the staff member names, right? So what we need to do on top here, I'm just gonna say user underscore ID, and this is going to be a numeric property, right? Like this. So let's import this from Kivy properties like this. And we need to get rid of this here, this return inside our onEnter function. So what we need to do here, we need to say proc dot schedule underscore once, excuse me. Then inside here, we need to say self dot we're going to create a function called run essentials, right? Then we're just gonna say 0.1 like this. So let's import this clock here from kivy.clock like this. So let me control D, control C this. And down here I'm gonna say define, then add this run essentials function. So it's gonna take in self, and here we're just gonna say star logs. Yes. Then inside this run essentials, right, we need to call two functions, and the first one is going to be self dot, let's just call it get user ID like this, because we're gonna be using this to get our user ID. Then the second one is going to be get stuff, right, like this, right? So now let's create the first function. So here when I say define get stuff, I take in self, right? So here let's open splash.kv. So I'm just gonna copy this here, then paste it here. So we're not gonna need this if statement here, excuse me. So now in order to send this user ID from our session.json to this user ID on top here, we need to say self.user ID. This, right? So let's import JSON. Okay, so we have it on top here. So now we've got our user ID, right? So now let's create this get stuff function, right? So define get stuff, it's gonna take in self. So what we need to do here, we need to say on is equal to connection, right? So let's import this. So this one is inside our data directory. Inside this data directory we have a connection, right? So this one is to data the connection like this. So let's navigate to our data directory and open connection file. So we need to paste our database name here. So we called it project underscore management. This, right? So now we're going to be using this one to connect every time, so that we don't have to rewrite it. Just going to be saying con is connection, and we're going to import that connection inside whichever Python file we're going to be using. Okay. let's create some space at the bottom here so that we can have whatever on top. So once we've imported our connection, we need to say, excuse me, cursor is equal to con dot cursor, right? So now that we have this, right, we need to put a try block here. So I'm just gonna copy this, then paste it here like this, right? Then here we need to get rid of this file not found, the error, and put some space. So here we're just gonna say exception as error, yes, right? So remember when we were going through the template, we had pop-ups, right? We had a confirm pop-up warning. So here we're just gonna say warning underscore pop underscore up is equal to warning pop up. So let's put parentheses here and let's import our warning up. So it's inside our widgets.popup warning pop-up. So it's inside our pop-ups file, popups.py file inside the widgets file. Excuse me. So now we need to say warning pop-up dot title. So this is going to, let's put an F string here. Right, so this is going to be the error that if we have an error, it's the error inside the warning. So here let's just say error like this. So now we need to open our warning pop-up, right, in case we have an error. So here we're gonna say warning pop-up dot open like this. Then let's put a finally, right? So whenever we are done, whether it was successful or there was an error, right, just have to close connection. So here we're gonna say if con, right, what do? We need to close that connection. Con closed, right? This needs to be lowercase. Okay, fine. That is the error. So what we need to do now, let's get rid of this here. So here let's have an SQL statement. So here we're gonna say SQL equal to, here we're gonna say select all we call the table stuff. So let's open we're not gonna need connection, and we're not gonna need the need.py. We're not gonna need this one also, we're not gonna need it. So let's close it. Let's open create.py, right? So I'm gonna right click and split this, then split right, reduce the size, right? So here we call the table stuff. So back inside the login.py, I'm gonna say select all from stuff where user underscore ID is equal to percentage s, this, right? And now we're gonna say values, and this is going to be a list. Then we're gonna pass in our user ID. So we set the user ID to be a numeric, so we need to convert it to string. So here we're gonna say string, and what are we turning into a string? Ourself dot user ID, right? This, right? So now that we have these, right, we need to say cursor dot show. What are we executing? Or XQ variable and values variable. Then excuse me, here we need to say, I'm just gonna say stuff list because it's a list of stuff. Here we're gonna say stuff underscore list. It's going to be let's just say cancel.fetch or this, right? Then let's create an empty list array. So here I'm going to say list score of score stuff, and this is going to be an empty list. This. Then once we have these, right, so I'm gonna put a for loop here, or let's just say for x in staff list, right? So let's navigate to our widgets folder and open part of Python. So we're gonna need what for the not this one, drop down this one. So here token and icon label, text, choices. So you see choices is a list property, right? And if we scroll downwards, for seeing solved or choices, right, we can see that it takes in a dictionary, right? So this one is going to be take in an ID and text, right? So we need to pass in an ID and text for our choices. So this is more like if you're using spinners, this is going to be like values. It's the same thing but different. So I just made it easier when I was creating custom widget to just name it choices so that there's a little bit of difference. So let's now get back to login. So here we're gonna say data, right? And we have information here. So here we're gonna say ID, right? So let's put this inside. So our ID is gonna be a string of x at index 0. So this is going to be our ID, staff ID. So by default, this is a integer. Then down here, we need to pass in our text. So our text is going to be, let's just say, the staff member's name. So this usually is okay, if you look at our table here, it's varchar. So it's index 0, 1, 2. So this is at index 2. So what we need to do now is we need to end this data, this list of stuff. So down here, we're gonna say list stuff dot end data, like this. So now we need to pass in the information to our custom list dropdown, right? Our custom dropdown. So here we're gonna say self.ideas, code name, choices is equal to list of stuff, right? Let's rerun it and see if everything is working as well. Okay. So let's click here. I'm not getting any stuff. So let's open populate.py. Where do we have it? So where do you use the ID of user? Okay. Let's open this. Okay, where do we have project management here? Okay, so here we'll use the ID one. Okay. So login.py, right? Here we have okay. So yeah, let's try printing stuff list and see if we're getting any. Okay, so down here we got these. Excuse me. Right. Excuse me. So now we need to send these. Okay. Control Z. Yes. So the issue is somewhere between these two here. Right. Okay, so let's open login.kv. Okay, we need to put a semicolon here. So this one has an ID of name. Okay. This seems to working on ID. Okay. Stuff. This should be fine. So let's run it. Okay. So why are we not getting anything here? Minimize this. Okay. So this should be choices, and I only said choice, right? So let's run it again. Okay, this should work now. Okay, so here we have Emily Carter, Mark Johnson, and Sophia Lee. So like this. Okay, if we enter our password, and now there's nothing that's going to happen. So we set up login function to pass. So now let's minimize this one, and let's just work on our login function. Right. So our login function, right, needs two things. Right? So it needs a name and a password. Right. So to get our name, right, we're gonna say self.ideas.name, right? So this is to call the custom widget, right? But to fetch the text input part, right, we need to say dot ideas. So we're gonna call another ID of a widget inside the custom widget. So we're gonna say ID self.ideas.name.ideas.text underscore the text input. Let me just check. Let's open text field.py. So it's text input. Fine. Get rid of this. Open. Okay. Dot text like this. So let me copy this and paste it downwards and change this part to password. Yes. Right. So underneath here, we need to check if our name, we have a name in the feed, and it's not select your name, right? And if password is not empty. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna say if name is equal to, so let me open login.kv, and let me just copy this and paste it here, right? Then or password is empty like this. So here we need to say self.ideas.error dot text is equal to, let's just say filling or required fields. Like this, right? Then here let's say elif, right? Length of password, right? is let's say it's less than 8 characters. It's less than 8 characters long. So let me copy this, paste it here, and this needs to be, let's just say, password be 8 or more characters. This, right? And now let's add an else here. Right. So for else, right, we need to say self dot ideas dot error text. So we're just gonna make sure that we clear, and we're just gonna set this to empty, right? So let's scroll upwards. I'm just gonna select this part and paste it here. So let's tap this inside once, like this, right? So now we're gonna say select all from stuff where user ID, right, is equals to %s, and name is equal to %s also, right? So now we're gonna, fetch all the information that's related to our name, name of the user, right? Here let's not say user ID, let's say ID, right? So we're just gonna make sure that it's the correct ID and it's the correct name that's associated ID. So once the ID and the name is correct, we're gonna fetch all the information. So that means the ID, user ID, name, password, row, right? Then right here we need to say, we need to pass it, this should be staff ID. So let me scroll upwards. Yeah, staff ID here. Because with this, once we select the name inside our name, inside our customer, we're gonna pass in that use the staff member's ID to this self staff ID. So once we pass it there, so now that we want to check if the password is correct, right, we're gonna use the staff ID right in here. So here we need to say this shouldn't be turned into a string because it's a string already. So I'm just gonna say self staff ID over, and we're gonna need the name, right, like this. So down here we're not gonna need this, so let's get rid of this here. So this here needs to be staff, like this. So excuse me, we need to check if staff is not empty. So here we're gonna say if not staff, like this. So if staff is empty, right, you need to send in an error message. So let me copy this and paste it here. So let's tap it inside 2 times, and this needs to be invalid construct. Like this. Then we need an else type. Right. So if stuff is not empty, if there is something, if we return some information, right, we need to say for x and stuff, right, our user ID is going to be x at index 0. I'm going to need a user ID. Let's see. Not gonna need it. Not good. So let's get let's say we're gonna need the raw position, but most importantly we're gonna need a password. Let's just look at session.json. So here we have user and user, right? So this is going to be the name. This is going to be ID, user ID, right? We might need the row also. So we just say row. Then this is going to be empty. So let's go back to login.py. So what we really need in here, right? Let's look at our table. Stuff we have raw. So this is raw. Let's look at our session.json. Okay, raw. Fine. Let's proceed. So here we're gonna say let's say password in DB, right? Password in our database. Password is going to be let's look at our table 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be at index 4. This, right? Then our row is going to be at index 5. Like this. Okay. We already have a name because it's inside. We're gonna get it from our custom. So we're gonna need this, and to pass in the information to our session.json, if the changes are right, just gonna get the user. So let's proceed with these two. So what we need to do now is we're gonna be storing a hashed password inside our data. So the password that we're gonna get from our custom text field password widget, right? We need to hash it. So here we need to say password. Need to be password hashed. So what are we hashing? So here we need to say hash lib. Let's import this. So here we need to say hash lib dot char 256. This put parentheses. So what are we hashing with? We're gonna be hashing password, our password variable. Then we're gonna say password dot encode. Then we're gonna put parentheses. Then we're gonna type out of this, right? Then we're gonna say hex. I just put this. And so the password that we just gotten from the user is hashed here, right? And the password inside our database is already hashed. So now we need to compare these two. So underneath our inside of loop, just gonna do it inside two. We're gonna say if password hashed is equal to password in DB. So if it's the same, we need to get our session.json. Let's scroll up and just copy this here, these two lines here, and paste them here. Right? This, but we need to change this to a W. That's one, right? So that we can write word session file. So what we need to do to write here, we're just gonna say search json.dump. So what are we dumping? So let's open session.json. Let's just go. It's all thing here. Like this. So our user ID is gonna come from self.user ID. Stuff ID is gonna come from self.stuff ID, right? User are coming from name, and row is gonna come in from row, like this, right? Then what we need to do is change scripts. let's just put an else here and put in this label, this error here. Let me get rid of this so that I can have more working space. Okay. Let's see. Get this error here. So now we need to change our screen. So we need splash. Let me open splash screen, and I'm just gonna copy this one here. Then I'm gonna paste it here. Right, this needs to be home screen like this, right? So let's import this end here. This. Okay, so here we need to say comma, and we're gonna pass in file, right? Okay, so let's run it and see if our system logs in. It can use log in our staff member. Okay, so I'm noticing that this color is different from this one. So let's minimize this, and we need buttons to apply, right? So we do here for buttons. Okay, so we're gonna need this color. It should be below. Okay, so here we have our custom flat button. That's all. Let's change this here and let's paste this. So let's run it again. Okay, maximize it. Okay, so now we have one color here. It's a bit better. So let's select our name. Here with let's try Sophie. And our password, all our password, like all the staff members are the dummy information we just added everything set to pass 1 2 3 4 5. So let me try to see if I just put like an extra G at the end. Let's see if it works. Okay, I'll leave credentials for this. Login. So logging in works, right? So I'm just gonna end this video here, right? So I'm gonna minimize this. So stay tuned to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Yes.